tnwildlife.org is your direct link to the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Log on for the latest information about hunting, fishing, boating, or wildlife watching right here in our state. You can purchase a license to hunt, fish, or register your boat right online. Check it out today at tnwildlife.org. This week on Tennessee Outdoor Journal, we'll start off with warm water fly fishing.
It is so easy to figure out what to fish with.
A good long rod will help you do that.
Next up, the real secrets of the Carolina rig.
It's so important to get your bait up past it.
And we'll finish off with You Can Go Fishing, fall and winter.
Fishing often gets overlooked this time of year. The leaves have changed, the temperature's dropping. People are talking about deer hunting, duck hunting.
Tennessee Outdoor Journal is opening the cover and inviting you in for some outdoor tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes look at the work being done by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Let's turn the page. What kind of legacy will we leave when our days upon this earth are gone? Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun, care enough to be the keeper of the dream. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal.
When I was young, I saw somebody using a fly rod and waving a rod back and forth and making that line throw the fly was just fascinating to me. Fly fishing is an art. It's a skill. It kind of reminds me of using a longbow or a recurve as opposed to a compound. It speaks to me and I like it. I like the artfulness of it.
You can fish a fly rod in the same place you fish conventional tackle. My favorite way is wading, but it's also effective from a boat or a kayak.
You know, one common misconception is fly fishing is only for trout, cold water fish, trout and salmon. You can fly fish for anything that swims as long as it feeds by sight. I mean, I've caught catfish, catch gar, smallmouth, largemouth. We've been over all that. You can catch anything on a fly rod. You know, when you're going out to buy a fly rod and reel, I tell everybody, get the best you can afford within reason. I do the same thing with my conventional tackle, or my archery tackle, or a gun. But a fly rod, they make all kinds, and they're not as expensive as people think. Yeah, you can go out and you can spend a ton of money. But the rod that I've been using, you can pick up used for about 20 bucks. You know, it doesn't have to be a giant to have fun. I mean, I'm a catcherman. I'm not much of a fisherman. I love to catch fish. And the different colors, this one's kind of a gold color. You know, they go from dark brown stripes to gold. They're just beautiful.
The best thing to remember when you're casting a fly rod is you're not casting a lure. You're casting a fly line. The line actually has weight. So it's a rhythm, it's not a whipping action. Your motion should be a 10 to 2 o'clock motion with your rod. You have to go fairly sharp with it, but not fast. It doesn't take much effort to cast a fly rod.
So, in today's world with the internet, it is so easy to figure out what to fish with. Remember, with a fly rod, all you're doing is imitating bait. If it looks like bait to you, it'll look like bait to the fish. And you can go to your big box store, you can go to your specialty fly shops, you can order stuff online, You can put it all in one box, and it doesn't take a whole lot of stuff. All these flies can be bought. This is a surface fly. It's called a popper, and this is just one style. A friend of mine tied this one. This is a minnow type fly. You can see that it wiggles. You can use this, and then of course a crawfish fly. You could go to a creek, to a lake, but really, you know, river fishing with a couple of these and maybe change a different color. Catch all the fish you want. Little guy, bet it's a rock bass. Let's see. Bet it's a rock bass. No, it's a bluegill.
Quick tip, to get better with a fly rod, you gotta use a fly rod. And for me, that meant leaving the conventional tackle at home and forcing myself to fish with nothing but the fly rod.
I love water like this because we've got a fast run up ahead and a riffle, and yet you got deep water right here. So I'm trying to pick apart the edges of the deep just off current where they could sit to dart out and get their food. And then as the water slows down back through here, they'll be hugging the bottom, be looking for stuff. The only time I really fish dead water or eddy water is if I see a bass, mainly a smallmouth, come in and push bait into here. They will corral them up against these weeds, and that's a great time to make a cast. It's always worthwhile to make a shot or two, but the main part of this hole, that's where we're concerned about. Look, when you're fishing in a river, everything in that river is eating aquatic insects, minnows, crawfish, or some kind of terrestrial like a grasshopper or cicada that falls in the water. Everything from bluegill, largemouth, smallmouth, sunfish, gar, everything eats that. So when you're imitating something like that, there's no telling what you're gonna catch. You can't just say, I'm gonna go out and catch only smallmouth, because you're not going to. You're gonna catch all kinds of species. There we go. Feels like a decent one. If you're just bent on catching trout, you know, then trout's all you're gonna be satisfied with. There you go. But heck, a smallmouth fights harder than any trout, pound for pound, that ever lived. Well, for that matter, a bluegill does. So if I can't get to a trout stream living here in Middle Tennessee, West Tennessee, even East Tennessee, you know, you put on a pair of shoes and jump in a creek where you're allowed to fish, and you go out and, I don't know, you catch 10 or 15 fish that day and you're by yourself. What could be better than that?
Hey, I'm Chris Ogle with Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. I'm a wildlife manager that works with non-game and endangered species. Did you know that Tennessee is part of a multi-state green salamander study? What's a green salamander? It's a small species of lungless salamander that's rare and elusive. It specializes in living in rock crevices and outcrops. And it's a salamander we don't know a whole lot about. So we're part of a multi-state study with several other states working to learn more about its population dynamics, its genetic structure, and the diseases associated with the species. We're working with a professor from the University of Alabama at Huntsville, and then we're also working with a PhD student at the University of Tennessee. So we're about to wrap up this study, and we're learning a lot of good things about the population dynamics and genetics of this creature and adding to the knowledge base of the green salamander.
Hey everybody, Jason Holland with Jason Holland Fishing, and today we're going to teach you the real secrets of the Carolina rig. First, we're going to start with the rod and reel. So I've got a Cashin Elite Series Carolina rig rod. It's a 7-foot 6-inch rod. It is a heavy power with a fast tip. So Carolina rig, you want a good long rod so you can make long casts, especially if you're fishing from the bank. Get out as far as you can, get out where other bank fishermen aren't at, and give you the opportunity to catch fish when other people may not. So a good long rod will help you do that. Get Cashin fishing rods. 7-foot 6-inch rod. Also, we have that teamed up with a Lew's Tournament MB speed spool reel. It's a bait casting reel. And a couple things to key about on this. One, it's a low profile, so really fits your hands real well. We don't have those big, like if you remember those big Penn deep sea, what it felt like a deep sea reel, real big. Technology has continued to advance, and now they've got them down to a real small profile, fit your hand real well. The other key thing about the reel is look at the gear ratio. This actually happens to be a 6.8 to 1. So it is a good medium, middle of the road gear ratio, allow you to make good long casts with the reel and also give you plenty of line to get picked up every time you turn the handle. Something really important to pay attention to if you're in the process of purchasing a new reel. All right, so let's talk about the line that we've got on here. So right now we have got, if I can get it over here, we've got Sunline. This is the Sniper series, so Sunline Sniper. I've got a 16-pound test on this because I'm throwing a little bit lighter weight. You can go between 16 and 20-pound line. Is a really good ratio. If you're just getting into it and you're just getting out there, start with this smaller diameter. It'll be a little bit easier to cast, a little bit more manageable. So 16-pound line. And so that completes the setup to go out and Carolina rig fish. So let's tie the Carolina rig and show you what that looks like. And once we're done with that, we'll talk about where you're going to throw it. So you need a few components to start with. I keep mine in a little box. This is my Carolina rig box, and so I can keep all my stuff kind of organized, but you don't have to do it this way. You can just put it in your normal tackle box and just have a little section. But you're going to need a few key components. One, going to be your hook. This happens to be a Trocar 5/0 extra wide gap worm hook. It's a really good all-around hook. You can do a 5/0, a 4/0, even drop down to a 3, and all that means is it's just the overall size of that hook continues to shrink down based on whatever specific soft plastic that you're throwing. Again, match your hook to the soft plastic worm or crawl or whatever that you're throwing. You want to try to match that hook up. All right, so we talked about the hook. You're going to need a swivel. This is a Spro power swivel. I'm a big fan of the Spro products, but again, any good barrel swivel will work. You're going to need obviously a weight. This is a 3/4 ounce. It's called an egg sinker because obviously it looks like an egg. The reason why you want to use an egg sinker is that it actually comes through very well. So think about it. You're dragging this weight across the bottom and it's going to hit every rock, stick, log, whatever the case may be. Whatever's sitting on the bottom, you're going to run this weight into. And so this egg shape allows it, as it's coming across, say you're going to hit a rock, it allows that to roll over the rock. Say you're going to hit a stick, allows it to hit the stick and roll over. So the shape of the weight is really important. Now, if you use a bullet type, and here's one that I had left over, these will work. The bullet shaped weight, these will work just fine. The problem that you can run into is, we go back to that rock again and say because of the pointed, it has a tendency to hit and then dig in. Just because of that overall weight, point kind of like an arrow, makes it stick a little bit better. So again, these will work. They're brass, they're cheap. These work as well. I personally recommend the egg sinker just because it's going to give you that. You need a bead. A little tip about the beads. Use a plastic bead. They sell glass beads, and they sound real great. The glass does when you're hitting against this clacker. But the problem that you run into with glass beads is over time they will chip and crack, and then you know what happens when you get a sharp edge on glass, it's going to cut everything. And so you get a glass bead, it has a tendency, if you're not careful, it can cut and nick your line, which is what you don't want. And then you've got a noise maker. This is just a little brass clacker. So we are going to tie the Carolina rig, if I can say that. Hook wise, I'm going to go typically with the polymer knot. So all we're going to do here is we're going to create a loop. And it's going to be kind of hard to see, but I'll do the best that I can. So if you can see, we've created a loop. All right. So all you're going to do now is you're going to fold that, make a loop here. Then we're going to take this tag in and we're going to go through the loop we just made. All right, so it's gonna look like this. Now all you gotta do is take this loop that you made and then run your swivel through it. Now, I always moisten it, and the reason you do that is so you don't burn your line. Good old saliva. And then there you go. Now you got your swivel connected. Turn around, snip off your tag in real quick. Now, got to talk about a leader. So, your leader size depends on really your scenario. Cleaner water, you want a longer leader. Dirtier water, you want a shorter. My personal, I like to go about, give or take, 2.5, 3 foot. So how I do it is I kind of just take my arm and stick it out, and that's my leader length. And then you can adjust as you need to, but that's a really good place to start. All right, so now we've got our leader line tied to our swivel. We're gonna set that aside for the moment. And here's our main line coming off our reel. So we're gonna start with our weight. All right, get our weight on there. Then we're gonna get, you got one of two options. You can put a noisemaker clacker, and all that does is goes between the weight and the bead and just kind of hits against it. Totally up to you. Some people like them, some people don't. I thought, why not? Can't hurt anything. So the bead does two things. One, it gives that noise, but more importantly, what it does is it protects that knot that you're gonna tie on here. All right, so now we've got, as we can see, we've got our weight, and we've got our clacker, and we got our bead. Now, all we've got to do is take our main line and tie it to our leader. So we're going to tie it to the swivel. All right. Now we've got almost our rig done. We've got our weight. We've got it down here, as you can see. Weight, our clacker. We got our bead. Our bead is really there to protect that knot so that weight's not banging against it, causing issues. And so when you throw it, this weight is going to drag on the bottom, and then what will happen is, here's our leader. That leader is going to float behind it. So as that weight comes through, makes a commotion, going to get the fish's attention, and then all of a sudden come slowly floating by will be your worm or your crawl. So we'll get our hook on here real quick. On the hook, I like to tie a Palomar on this as well. There is our hook. We can see here. Going to make our loop again. Like that. I'll bring this tag in through here, and we're going to run down through here, grab our hook. I'm going to pull all that tight. Get you over there. Now, cut off our tag in. Okay, now, here's our Carolina rig. We've got her set up. That goes down to a leader with our hook. Now, for the last piece, you got a couple options. One, you can throw a crawl type bait, which looks like this. Again, this is the Missile Baits D-Bomb. This is actually the baby D-Bomb, the smaller one. Got some appendages, got your flap. We got a local company here out of Tennessee called Torrent Outdoors. They make a really cool product, and it is a straight tail worm that has got the ribs on it and gives a little action here at the tail. This is a great Carolina rig bait. Make sure you check them out. And then another one that I really like a bunch is from Missile Baits. Huge fan of Missile Baits, super soft, is their quiver. This is the 6.5 inch quiver. It gives you that straight worm presentation, and then you got this tail here at the end that kind of just, as it moves through the water, really good and shake. So worms, great when it's cold, great when the bite's real finicky. You can 6.5. You can even downsize to a 4 inch, a 3 inch. It doesn't matter. Whatever you need to get bit. And if you drop down your plastic, make sure you drop down your hook size. And to finish out your Carolina rig, you're going to take your soft plastic, and this is a offset wide gap hook. You run it through right to where that hook starts to bend. All right. Then you're going to take it and push it out, and you're going to just keep threading it on up till you get to this right here at this little turn. So what happens is you just keep pushing your worm, run it all the way through, and then make that turn. And what happens, your hook, see that little bend right there? That actually holds this piece of soft plastic on your hook. That's why that bend is so important, to get your bait up past it. Then what you'll do is you'll look and see, okay, here's where, this is how I do it anyway, here's where the hook needs to go in the soft plastic, basically the bottom of this hook. So I'll kind of pinch it there and then push it right through, come straight out the top. Got that? How it looks. And then from there, just keep threading it down. And what you want to do to make this completely weedless is you just want to barely skin hook top of that hook into your soft plastic. Now, as you drag it through rocks, weeds, whatever, completely weedless. And all you're doing, again, is burying that hook tip directly into your soft plastic. Something really important when it comes to worms, you want to make sure it's completely straight. And there's your finished product. So where you want to throw a Carolina rig is, great thing about them is that you got so much weight. If you're fishing from the bank or you're fishing from a pier, you're able to get this further than any other lure that you're going to throw, just because it's so much weight. So now you're going to get out deeper, and more importantly, you're going to get out to where other bank fishermen or other people that have been on the pier fishing, you can get somewhere that no one else has been able to get to. So it's a really great tool to give you opportunities to explore new water. So again, Jason Holland with Jason Holland Fishing, thanks for the TWRA for the opportunity to come along, give you guys some real secrets on the Carolina rig. Thank you.
Oh, it is a good one too.
Don't lose.
Fishing often gets overlooked this time of year. The leaves have changed, the temperature's dropping, people are talking about deer hunting, duck hunting, but if you get a warm day, the fishing can be really good. If it starts pulling drag, don't reel when it's pulling drag.
Okay. Oh, yep, it broke.
It's kind of out in nowhere, and it's surrounded by beautiful scenery and trees, and the lake's beautiful, and the fish are plentiful if you can catch them.
Channel cat, Bedford Lake, one of the finest lakes I know of. Love it.
Awesome.
This one, like I say, is 25 and a half. I catch 4 or 5 a week like this, and I return most of them to this beautiful water. This is wonderful out here, especially this time of the year.
Awesome. Why this time of year?
The water's cooling off, and if you love nature like I do, the beautiful leaves.
In the wintertime, everything slows down. If you're fishing with artificial baits, you've got to slow that presentation down for the fish. If you're fishing with cut bait or worms or live bait, your presentation's already slow. So it takes a little bit of patience, but when that fish does bite, it gets exciting.
Ooh, nice fish!
There's a lot of opportunity in Tennessee. We've got major reservoirs, we've got smaller impoundments like here at Williamsport Lake, one of the TWRA lakes, and there's rivers and streams everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, it's just the fact that the opportunity is there. Find a place near you, go to tnwildlife.org and go to our boating and fishing access page, and you should find a map there that will give you different locations that you can navigate to. He's gonna get me tangled up. Hey, come on here. What we got? What we got? We got us a little Cherokee bass. Ha ha! Yeah! Look at that. Hey, 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 hey. It doesn't take a whole lot to get into this. This is a small rod, a Zebco 33 spin cast rod. Doesn't cost a whole lot, maybe $15. And then I've got a small tackle box with a few hooks and sinkers and some floats. And it's just an easy way to go out and have a good time outdoors on a pretty day in the winter.
Coaxing. Come, we're almost here. I fished in multiple states, the ocean, Great Lakes. I like it out here. It's quiet, and even though it's a a family fishing lake. There's not as many people out here as you would generally find at Percy Priest and whatnot.
It's a good fish. What do you think?
The fishing for me was exciting. I caught bigger and better fish than I usually catch, so it was fun. Let go of my finger.
Oh, it's a little one. Oh, it's a little sun perch. Oh, is it a bluegill? Yeah. I've just taken up fishing again in the last year, or the last, 7 months. And I'm really interested in it, and I'm not very good at it, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep trying. It's a little one.
So if you find a good day this winter, take some time, get outdoors, wet a line, and enjoy some fishing.
Hey, I'm Jamie Feddersen, TWRA's Migratory Game Bird Program Leader. Did you know that Tennessee winters about 25 to 30,000 sandhill cranes every year? Sandhill cranes are a bird that's native to North America. There's several different populations. Some of them migrate, some of them don't. The ones that come through Tennessee are the migratory population. These birds live a long time. They can live 20 plus years. They're monogamous and they generally mate for life. The female will lay 2 eggs, but they generally only raise 1 of the colts to fledging, and both parents care for that young. These birds are omnivores. They eat a wide variety of food, plants, grains, invertebrates. They'll eat frogs, fish, snakes. They use uplands, they use wetlands, so they're a pretty versatile bird. Every year, about the 3rd weekend of January, TWRA hosts a Sandhill Crane Festival in Birchwood, Tennessee. I'd encourage you all to go out there and enjoy that festival. It's a really good time, and just get out and enjoy these birds and enjoy Tennessee's wildlife.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal. We'll see you next time. Tennessee Outdoor Journal is produced by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun. Care enough to be the keeper of the dream, this legacy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Lawrence, just letting you know that the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency supports itself and manages all of the state's wildlife with the dollars invested by hunters and fishermen when they buy licenses. If you've never bought a license, but appreciate the abundant wildlife we enjoy in this state, I encourage you to do it. Start with the Type 01. It's a great investment in Tennessee wildlife. Learn more at tnwildlife.org.
Buy your license today at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.